David, I spent some time hearing from listeners today on this Leger poll that shows 65% of Quebecers, when asked, said they would not vote for a referendum in the first 5 years, and there will be a new government next year, whether it's a CAQ or a PQ, whatever. But I asked people, because some people suggest, you know what, let's just have one more, and then we can just get this out of the way for once and for all if there's a definitive vote. I want to get your take on this poll.
Well, I think, first of all, it symbolizes the times we're living in. It's very, very difficult when you're concerned about making the rent at the end of the month, worried if you're going to be able to buy your family's groceries this week, with consumer confidence that right now, Aaron, you know this, it's actually consumer confidence for the past several months now is actually lower than it was during the worst times of the pandemic. So there's absolutely no bandwidth right now for discussions on independence. We know if we want to dig deeper, we know what happened with Brexit. We have Trump. We have the last spring's federal election, where Quebecers, Francophones, on the lead, saying, look, I don't want to hear about the bloc. I want the guy who knows how to weather these economic storms we're going through. I want the geeky looking guy, banker, who doesn't speak French very well. He seems to know what he's doing, and I don't want Poiliev, and I don't want anything to do with the bloc. And so that's right now, I think, what this poll says the most. Two, well, to get to referendum, the Quebecers are going to have to elect a PQ government. That's the first step. And while the polls show that Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon is in the lead, it's very interesting to see that poll after poll after poll. And yes, if an election were held tomorrow, if the results of the polls stood, we would have a PQ majority government. But when you drill down into these polls, there's a significant proportion, over 20%, some polls went as high as 30% of the PQ support that is Federalist. And even Jean-Marc Léger, who nobody will ever confuse as being a Federalist, who is the head of Léger marketing. Jean-Marc Léger wrote this morning, he's quoted as saying, look, right now, a lot of Quebecers are parking their vote, their electoral vote, with the PQ because they want to make sure that the CAQ doesn't get a third mandate. So this is the opening right now for Paulo Rodriguez. If Paulo Rodriguez, who's been pretty quiet these last few weeks and months, almost absent, and it's starting to raise some questions in certain liberal circles. Why is he not taking advantage? Why is he not out there? Why is he not defining himself and defining others, especially on the economy? But there's a big opportunity there to show that there is an alternative to take care of these key kitchen table issues that Quebecers prioritize way beyond anything having to do with a referendum.
To your point, and I don't understand this either. This whole idea with Pablo Rodriguez, that the big ballyhoo at the beginning. Look what we got. Federal ministry is going to come here. This is going to be great. What's the strategy, David, in not, as you just pointed out, sort of being present and reacting to stories like this or anything? What is that?
Well, I'm a bit puzzled. I mean, what I understood from the beginning. So he wins the leadership on June 14th, right? And so there's the summer. He was running forever because of the long leadership race. You kind of give him a break. But even Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon, who's been very good since he became PQ leader in occupying the space, social media, traditional, regular media, he's always there. He's always, making statements, putting himself out there. And he's actually very good at that and making media and other parties react to him. Pablo, the only thing I do understand and what I do know is that he's been focusing on organizing and rebuilding this party. I don't think people realize how in shambles and total ruins the Quebec Liberal Party was actually when he became leader in June. I mean, this is beyond, the joke I always say, it's beyond what the Canadians were when Gorton and Hughes took it over 3 years ago.
Oh, no.
And really, and Pablo's strengths are organization. He knows that. That's what made Pablo Rodriguez what he is today. As Quebec organizer, amongst other things, for Justin Trudeau, the last 3 federal elections under Trudeau. And so I think he's been focusing way too much on that and actually not occupying the space. Mauro Risky and the caucus have been doing a decent job since the National Assembly resumed sitting, but they're not the leader. Marois is not the leader. And so, and Paulo Rodriguez is just not present, and it's becoming to be, it's starting to become more and more puzzling.
Yeah, I wonder. I don't want to just dwell on this, but do you think that there's to some degree, David, this idea that all this stuff that you're suggesting he may be doing behind the scenes? Obviously, the public does not. We're not aware of this because we don't find out. But you think that's where his focus has been? If you had to bet.
Well, I do know this because that I know for a fact, for having had conversations, and I know, like, for example, there are 125 ridings in Quebec, right? And I know for a fact that around 40 of these ridings, the Liberals don't even have one person to organize a riding association. That's a lot for a party like the Quebec Liberals. They just got Martin Coiteux to head the national political committee of the party, the policy committee of the party. Coiteux, former Treasury Board president, when I was minister as well under the Couillard government, former municipal affairs minister, former public security minister. He brings economic heft. After politics, he was the chief economist at the Caisse de Dépôt. So I think there is a lot of energy being put behind the scenes, but at the same time, I think he is overcompensating there and wasting valuable time in defining himself with the electorate.
Okay, I'm going to let it go. My only other question would have been, is part of this because he doesn't have a seat and therefore he's not in the National Assembly?
Saint-Pierre Plamondon didn't have a seat before 22, and he scored a lot of points.
Okay.
It's definitely, it hampers, but it's not a reason not to occupy, especially with social media.
It doesn't make you invisible. Okay.
Eric Duhem is not.
Yeah, good point.
Eric Duhem has scored points.
Yeah. Fair enough. Look, let me get to this other story. I don't want to run out of time. So we talked about this with Aaron Durfel earlier on. This whole idea between Quebec medical specialists and the government trying to pit now Francois Legault against Christian Dubé, saying they can't deal with him anymore. You didn't think this situation could get any worse, but it seems to be getting just that.
Well, I think actually it's the darkest before the dawn here, because here's the thing. First of all, Francois Legault responded very quickly to the letter. He wrote back like within 24 hours saying, no, Dubé's my guy. And so Legault will not throw Dubé under the bus. Imagine that. I mean, Dubé is the last senior minister. If Legault would step in and throw Dubé under the bus, Dubé could just slam the door, and that could spiral out of control for the CAQ. So Legault's not going to step in. Dubé is going to stay. But here's the thing: in the next week or so, because of the doctors' pressure tactics, there's about 1,000 doctors that won't be able to come in the system because we will not have done all their hours. And I'm sorry, I don't have the exact terminology, but they in terms of training. And so it's going to come to a head in the next few weeks. So I think something's going to have to give. And so Legault's not going to step in, and both parties ultimately are going to have to find a way to sit down. Maybe it's going to be arbitration, or if not, Legault's just going to pass his bill. And then, he's already a lame duck. It's just going to make him even weaker politically.
Has Santé Quebec turned out, is it too early to judge, David? Has Santé Quebec turned out to be a giant failure so far?
So far, there's no other conclusion to come to than that. There is absolutely no result. There's no upside. There is nothing to point at that shows that they're heading in any kind of direction that helps the ordinary Quebecer get better health care. Nothing.
Again, more optimistic news. Just, I don't know.
Hey, Jays tonight, man.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Jays
Let's
tonight.
Focus on the Jays, and the Habs are winning the cup.
Fair enough. Go Mariners, go. No, I'm kidding. What I said.
Well, you're an Expos man.
I know.
Vlad Guerrero Jr. Come on, he's having the playoffs of a lifetime.
By the way, for all the Vlad Guerrero Jr. fans out there, that post, it's up again today. Someone put that post of him as a 3-year-old when his dad was playing with the Expos. It's unbelievable. It's beautiful.
It's great.
No, I hope the Jays win. I just said earlier on, it's hard when you're a Seattle Mariners fan. Your franchise has never, ever been to a World Series, and here you are looking at Game 7. If you lose, it's just another year, but go Jays, go.
Seasoned gamer or just video game curious? This Week in Gaming is the podcast for you. We break down the latest in the world of video games, from basics to beyond. The hottest gaming news, insight, and industry leaders and more, weekly. Join me, Naomi Kyle, and stay ahead of the game with all the latest updates, even if you're a total newbie. Stream This Week in Gaming on the free iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.